Hello, folks. Obviously, you all know this. We have elections coming up. So I'm here. I'm going to ask you to vote for a bunch of parties. Of course not. Even the 1st of April is done. Fine. So obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say vote for this or vote for that. Make good use of your vote. Please try to vote. Right? So when I was growing up and I was in college, there was a lot of part of the political discussion that I was not a part of. I didn't understand it. I only about 3, 4, 5% of my peer group really set the tone. All of us were slightly intimidated by the language. We didn't know the historical backdrop. We didn't know the context. We didn't know the language. We didn't know the jargon. We didn't know local dynamics, any of that. And sometimes when you don't have the information, you tend to disengage. You feel like, I don't know this, and you sit back and say, hey, this doesn't happen. When I was growing up, the terminologies of left and right, I never got them. I never seriously understood left and right. And every time I would understand something, they would add another element to it and I'll just flip out. And so this whole video is a thing to say, hey, what is this left and right about? What is completely not understood by many people? The left and right come under two different axes. And so one is the economic axis, which is very important. The right-wing economic axis is capitalism. Left wing is socialism. And so right wing says market economy is good. Right wing says government intervention should be low. We should have light touch regulation. We shouldn't have government interfering in everything. We should not have government building large businesses. Government should not try to be a businessman. Government job is to sit back, regulate, be light on regulation, let the animal spirits of the economy take care and then drive forward. And so invisible hand theory from Adam Smith, that comes in there. There's an Austrian school of thought. It's a website called Ludwig von Mises, and I think it's mises.org. They speak a ton of things about the capitalist economy. The socialist economy is that state planning is good. When industries compete with each other, they do a lot of negative economic value add things, and so not required. The overall size of the economy, the pie of the economy, state can govern and push and can be a force for good. State can say, I'll educate 1 million people on a particular skill set, and that will have a fantastic impact on the economy. And so that is, they have higher taxes, public sector, public provision of key services is a part of citizens' expectations and government's remit. And governments are expected to provide some public services. Civilians demand it as a part of thing that the government should do. And so that is the left-wing thing. Karl Marx, obviously everybody has heard about Karl Marx. He wrote the book on this. And the Soviet Union is a classic example of this. United States is obviously the classic example of the capitalist society. Keep in mind that it's very important to understand that the right extreme and left extreme are notional ideological things. And most of us, most people, most countries fall somewhere on this line. There's no economy that is 100% capitalist and government intervention is not there that functions beautifully. The United States heavily regulates quite a few of its industries. Right? So there's a significant amount of private wealth available in present day Russia and China. And so it's not extremes that we should be thinking about. And again, I'm not looking there's a temptation to put a label and judge and say good or bad, and this side is good, that side is bad. And so don't rush into that. And so don't rush into a qualitative metric about where on this axis is good or bad. And the idea is to say, what is this? What is that? Perhaps think about what might be good. If you are here on this axis, what does it mean really for the economy? And so high government spending underpinned by high taxes, aggressive government role in provision of public services, a welfare state, longer time state planned economy, all of these are features. Low taxes, low regulation, few limited government intervention, government not being in business, all of that. It's this part. Free market, trade, have a wide open system for the whole world if possible. Free migration of talent, services, goods, people. So trade takes care of any problem it may create. That's the other view. Right? Lovely. This is the economic part. And so there's a socio-cultural axis, which has a right and a left. I've deliberately put the right on top and left here because I'm going to put both axes together. So I cannot have right, left here also, then it gets confusing. Fine. So the socio-cultural right is conservative. It talks about our tradition, our values, our history, and harks back to for each location. It could be a nation, or it could be a sub-region, when it could be an entire country or one region inside the country. But the conservative idea, when you say conservative, it speaks to my history, my tradition, my ancestors, the way things were, referring back to that is conservative. Right? Immigration is frowned upon because I take pride in what was mine, that has been mine from years long. So therefore, I don't want anything to upset it or anything to dramatically change it overnight. Right? Homosexuality is against nature, abortion is against God, are the global manifestations of, or more American and global manifestations of the conservative subculture. We can have the India variants for this. And so, religion is vital, values are key, those are global. Again, India also understands this. Religion is vital, it's a very strong right-wing view. Values are key. When I say values, family values, our traditional values, what we hold good, those are key. They are not to be given up that easily. It's a right-wing view. Left-wing, liberal or progressive, all cultures bring something. It's not just us. The confluence of cultures is what is there. We shouldn't hark back to a point of time in our history and lay claim and say from then on it is us. It is us, is dynamic and ever-changing. So multiculturalism is a theme. To each his own in everything. So no intervention in terms of a set of legal rules and frameworks and what is expected out of us as citizens. That is there. But how you lead your private life and moralizing, I'm not in it. That is the view here. Again, opposite of this, abortion is a matter of choice. State not to govern values. The state is not to say, hey, this is the way you should lead your life. Apart from taxing and providing military support and law and order, it doesn't say this is they can talk about good citizenry and tax-paying citizens, but they cannot influence way of life. None of the policies can influence way of life. That's the left-wing view. So progressive, liberal, left-wing, that's one category. Conservative, traditional, that is the other category. Fine. So this is a definition of what kind of thing is important. So that's where this axis sits. Fine. So obviously now we're going to put both together. The economic axis and the right-left axis on the social cultural thing. This is a socio-cultural thing, this is the economic thing. And so obviously this is tough to grab. And so because you used to think about right and left like this, right? Not on a vertical axis. So take some time to kind of grab onto what we're trying to do here. Again, I've put some established countries that we know very clearly. I'm going to speak about a few of them. The classic capitalist economy is United States. And so where taxes are not very high, state does not provide uniform healthcare and education, does not do that for everybody, not a done thing. The nationalistic boundaries and military expenditure high, that makes them typically right-wing, socio-culturally. The individual freedoms are enshrined by the constitution, that is a separate thing. But the country is the definition of a classic right of center economy. It is more central as far as the social cultural axis is concerned, but I put it slightly to the right. Right? So if you look at the United Kingdom, it is more to the left than the US, but probably still right of center. The taxes are way higher than the US, but much lower than Europe. Right? Their systems of thought process being liberal or conservative, they are fairly liberal in a lot of things that they do. Religion does not play as active a role in public life as much as it does in the United States. In the United States, religion is central. You can't have a presidential candidate who doesn't say certain words. Here it's not like that. In fact, one of the famous politicians in the UK came and said, we don't do God in this country. And so they don't do that much God in their country. Right? Scandinavia is very interesting because it's on the economic axis, they are left wing. You don't find that many billionaires on kind of conspicuous consumption in Scandinavia. Heavy duty welfare state, high taxes, government provision. In all of Europe, significant proportion of education and healthcare are freely available to all citizens. You can walk into any hospital, you'll get free healthcare. You can join the local school near you. State-funded local schools and libraries are fantastic. And Scandinavia wrote a book on it. All of Europe is like that, but Scandinavia is richer. It can afford more. It's a small population, kind of homogeneous. So they can, at least it was homogeneous very much. So they can afford to do that. Former Soviet Union would have been here. This is, again, is a very interesting location for me. The big mega cities are all fiercely capitalistic and fiercely liberal. It's a common joke that you can walk dressed as anything in New York and nobody will notice. They're fiercely capitalist. So the city or Wall Street are sitting there. I put Hong Kong there, probably like anomalous Hong Kong, where Hong Kong could have been. Now Hong Kong is a whole different thing. So probably Hong Kong doesn't feature here. Hong Kong is not in the same brigade as New York and London now. But it's a mega city. New York, London, Tokyo, Singapore, Hong Kong are mega cities. They have a dynamics of their own. Hong Kong dynamics are, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to think about London and New York. They're fiercely capitalist. They're centers of wild capitalist activity, where money, where capital plays a role in determining how the systems are run, and not government. Right? And they're fiercely liberal. Anybody can do whatever they want. The social setting is not going to put any judgment on that. Right? So, coming to India, 1980s India was severely left-wing economically. Taxes were high. Government controlled everything. It was a so-called license Raj. The government, we're still in the era of 5-year plans for economic activity. State provision of services of telecom was there. Licenses were mandated by the state for every industry. So you could not set up a company and say, I'll produce this. You had to get an approval for N things. So it's a very state-driven economy, very clearly. India of 2024, the state is playing a role, but not so significant. It's moved out. So telecom or any good, especially you folks who are probably part of the more of a consumerist generation, where you've had money and freedom to spend it. If you look at the last 25 things you have bought or consumed, probably 2 or 3 are linked to the government. If you've taken a train ticket, it's through IRCTC and Indian National Railway. If you've bought a LPG gas cylinder, it's linked to the government. But everything else, your monthly, day-to-day thing, is going to be outside of that. The government ambit in industry has shrunk dramatically. It worked for us. And so, that is about it for the context is concerned for different countries that we can draw a parallel to. Now, coming to India, I've tried to put only the political parties where their positions are naturally understood. And so, the BJP is a right of center party, clearly socio-culturally definitely right, even economically little right, which have been more comfortable with dealing with large industries and in privatizing some sectors and that what they've been comfortable doing that. Congress defines the center left for India. They put them there. Obviously the communist parties, they say, look, I won't interfere in religion or life, and I want high taxes and taking care of the laborer. So they speak to labor, but they have no role on governing anything socio-culturally. They're right here. And so this I think is very interesting. Rural India is, I would argue, is more conservative than India of metros. India of metros is more right-wing and more capitalist than this. Rural India's economies are closely entwined with what the government can do. Whereas here it is that little bit away. I know all of us have stood in queues to get licenses and all of that, where government intervention is there. But there, their day-to-day economy is based on some government grant or government money. Your local panchayat, you have to have something to do with government money all the time there. And so some of the leaders have put here. Again, I'm not very comfortable discussing this, because very often a discussion on an exercise becomes about what is my view on these leaders. So I'm not going to discuss that. And again, I'm pretty much done with this. This is an exercise to understand what right means and what left means. Like any one of you spend some time on this, you can say, look, I actually thought about it. Rural India should be another 0.2 units to the left. And so, power to you. Imagine it to be slightly to the left. Think about your reasons for why you think they should be slightly to the left. Place present era parties somewhere here. Think of it as a framework for doing an intellectual exercise. If you have a couple of good friends with whom you can discuss without strong political agendas, by all means shoot the breeze. And so I don't want this the environment is so fraught these days, especially close to the elections. And so there'll always be some guy saying, you label them like this. You seem to be the guy who likes this party, so you have said wrong things about that party, and nonsense. Fine. So I have my political views. I'm as vulnerable to strong political views as anyone else. And so, but this is not a platform to share those. So if you have some idea of, you feel like, oh, this is where his biases should lie, power to you, keep that. And I'm not trying to peddle my political agenda here. And so you cut me that slack. So if you've got a sense of it, say, look, it slipped by, but I don't know whether it's right. When I meet him, I'll ask him and leave it at that. And so don't add that extra layer instinctively of polarizing the whole landscape, because then it's not worth it. I'm not looking to do it. And I'm very honestly telling you, I'm not looking to peddle or position any one slightly to the left or right of where it should actually be in order to drive an agenda. It's just an exercise to understand left and right in one axis, left and right in another axis, and notionally place yourself. Whenever I had this discussion, some people have asked me, what is the best quadrant to be in? And there is no such thing. There is no such thing. And so I have shifted very aggressively. I was economic axis, I was very right-wing when I left college. Now I'm more left-wing. I'm probably moved from here to here, not here to here. I'm pointing in the wrong places. Socially, as you grow older, your dynamics or the way you think changes. I think I've not reached that phase yet. So I'm fairly immature. So I'm not moved because of my age. So I'm staying here. But in my right-wing, left-wing social positioning, there are a lot of contradictions. In some one or two things, I'm fiercely right-wing. In one or two, I'm violently left-wing. So even within that list of 6 criteria, I'm not like in the middle. In 2, 3, I'm here. 2, 3, I'm here. And so I don't know. I cannot position myself here. I'll keep changing based on the issues. So could that be for you? And so the idea is to say, okay, let me think about where I land. Let me think about where this party could be. Let me think about what kind of governance India will need. What happens if I move too much to the left? What happens when I go here? And think about that as an exercise. Right? I would love to hear your comments. I would like to see where you land. There's some interesting website that do a questionnaire and make you tell you where you land. I'm not too happy with one or two that I have poked around, but hey, it's fun exercise. Do that. They're not cast in stone. I would love to hear meaningful political discussions and comments and analysis and thoughts. We're willing and waiting to engage in discussions. Elections are coming. The more engaged you people are, the better my future is. And India will go places, and I'll sit back and retire, enjoy my retirement. Right? So I'm very happy. I think all of us here at 2IIM are happy to sit and engage and talk and discuss. It's good to talk. Right? So, but we're very clear that we don't want to get drawn into the discussion of who do you want to do this, why do you want that whole rigmarole that comes as part of our social media polarized discourse. I'm looking to stay away from it, so should you. So engage in as many things as you want to float around as comments and thoughts and questions. Whatever is not politically sensitive, I'll happily sit and answer. We'll all do. So let's have some fun, as usual, in discussing this context. Be super informed about your constituency, your person, your political manifesto, agendas, all of that. As much as possible, do even your political analysis from first principles. A lot of our political analysis get colored very easily. And so one guy's interpretation of things, very much about what he wants to position or pitch. If you want to know about a manifesto, read it. If you want to know about what happened in the last election, know the facts. Don't listen to someone's interpretation of some other person's idea of what Nehru or Gandhi did. You do your reading as much as possible from first principles. And engaged citizenry is a crucial element for us to go from lower middle income country to higher middle income country and beyond. And so best wishes. So several of you might be the first elections you're voting in which case do that. I quite enjoyed myself when I voted for the first time. I have not missed a voting opportunity yet, nor do I plan to miss it this time. So it's a good thing. Turn up and do. So all you have to do is go like half an hour, 1 hour of your life. Embrace that, look forward to that, enjoy yourself. Best wishes, guys.